It's been quite interesting actually, because Alice, your CMO, has been talking a lot recently around the Cognism's transition from lead gen to demand gen, and there's so much talk online about what it is and what it isn't, and the crossover, and so what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, me and Alice actually started at Cognism fairly close together. We used to work at Thomson Reuters together. That's how we knew each other. And when we started out, we were playing very much from like a normal lead gen playbook. We set up one of the first things we're doing, we're really getting like ourselves set up on like LinkedIn, Google, and just pulling in as many leads as possible and creating then like a follow-up process with SDRs. And then it wasn't really until about a year and a half into it that then obviously there's all the Chris Walkers, everyone like talking about this more. We'd already like semi split out the funnel, which we were meant to do, but I don't think we'd really looked at. So we split it out into what we would have called inbound, paid, and like content. And content was our like lead generation, but we just blend it back again together when we were looking at like the overall performance of marketing and the team. And then it just took us to split it out properly and actually then again and look at what was working and what wasn't. And you could just see that lead gen side of it was actually really cost inefficient and just not really providing the value that we needed for like growth and actually focusing on the inbounds and direct demand. And how we could increase that was obviously the clear way forward. And then the rest of it is just a lot of guts, because then you've got to take it to the sales team, you've got to take it to the C-suite executives and show this plan that you're going to ungate everything and there's going to be less leads, and that will promise you that there'll be higher, but revenue won't suffer for it, and actually there'll be better conversions. And then we were just, I suppose, really lucky to have a sales team and executive team that were like on board with that, willing for us to experiment. So to begin with, we like took a smaller, we said, look, we'll gradually switch this over. Like, as Alice has talked about, it's sort of like earn the right to do it. So we'll have some of that money towards lead gen and the rest towards demand gen and or like ungated content. And we were able to show that uptick in inbounds after just 3 months, which just then gave us the green light really to switch over entirely. I suppose that's the process about it. What I see the difference between the two really is just that demand gen is just no longer gating your content to do another form of outbound, right? We're actually just committing to general marketing, and like as marketing it's always been known to, which is like giving your content for free and educating and engaging your audience so that they know about you and the power of brand. Whereas I think maybe we slipped back into this whole lead gen idea, which is actually just another version of outbound at scale, which is obviously being an employee of Cognism, outbound is great, but it has its place, and you don't want the whole model to be outbound, you know. The demand gen offers like a completely different way of getting like high intent leads into your business, basically.
Oh, really interesting thoughts, Liam. I mean, the job of marketing really is to make sales easier. And I think there is a kind of tendency to get a bit hooked on the MQL hamster wheel, with the law of diminishing returns. It depends, I guess, on the structure and the personalities in that company. But yeah, it's been really interesting to kind of watch as an outsider and a bit of a fan of Cognism, how you guys have gone on that journey, and getting buy-in from the C-level and some of the sales team must have been quite challenging. But to get those types of positive KPIs back in 3 months, that's really good. How did you manage that process then? Like, what were the key indicators that you reported back to the rest of the team on at that 3 month period?
Yeah, so we couldn't see anything like uptick in revenue at that point from marketing attribute sources just because of the amount of time and it being so short. Like there wasn't long enough time for those sales to come through. So we were literally just looking at the number of inbounds that we generated. And we were looking at like the growth rate then between, say, 3 months prior. So obviously we would just hope that some of our inbounds, like the number of inbounds we get would be going up anyway, in response to even doing gated marketing, right? We're trying to still get ourselves out there. So we were looking at not only the increase in inbounds, but actually the growth rate over those 3 months. Like, was that at a greater rate than previously? And I think, well, we actually saw a 47% increase in inbounds, which was huge anyway. And I can't exactly remember that growth rate difference, but that's basically what we were reporting back. And then that just got us like that little nod to be like, okay. And we actually had that budget carved out separately, right? So it was like promised, and this was where it was great to have like CEO who was involved in the project, because, you know, we carved that budget out separately. So we're like, we're not ruining anything we're doing now. We're just creating something different. You know, at the end of 3 months, if we can't show you anything that demonstrates that this will work, then we'll give that budget back. But yeah, it worked. So